Good evening and welcome to the LaRouche Movement's weekly battle report. Today is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. I'm Michelle Aaron, your host. For the United States and many nations of the West, the implementation of Lyndon LaRouche's 4 economic laws, Glass-Steagall banking separation, and national banks to ensure credit for infrastructure and science driver projects, is the urgent necessity of today. This is the modern expression of the historic American system of economics and gives the only pathway out of financial blowout and economic disintegration. Needless to say, reviving the British East India Company's colonial commercial looting practices in Western Hemisphere, as with Venezuela, and as proposed by the Trump administration's 2025 National Security Strategy memo, will not create peace, prosperity, and development. This past week, the LaRouche movement deployed on an international level to promote shared understanding, education of crucial concepts, and the enactment of the LaRouche 4 laws. We have 2 reports tonight from an international youth dialogue held this past Sunday, December 14th, reports given by Daniel Burke from the USA and Alan Rivera from Mexico. We have photos and videos from street organizing this past week in France, where our candidates are running for federal office. And we will tell you about a new petition call issued from the Schiller Institute, Withdraw from NATO, which is currently circulating for endorsements. But first, let's go to Diane Sayre from the United States, demonstrating leadership and crucial insight, as she explains in her latest TikTok that war with Venezuela would be a foolhardy action. We should go after Wall Street instead. They are a much bigger threat.
President Trump has just announced a huge armada running a blockade around Venezuela to prevent all oil tankers from going in and out. This is really outrageous. Congress has not voted to declare war on Venezuela. It is not legal to kill people in little boats. You can interdict them, you can arrest them, you can find out where the drug trade is coming from, and guess what? It won't be Venezuela, at least not the majority of it. Now, if you really wanted to stop drug running, if you really wanted to stop crime, we would be going after Wall Street. We would be doing what Lyndon LaRouche called for in 2014, reinstating the FDR-era Glass-Steagall bank separation, putting that firewall up to protect the American people, normal depositors, savers, your mortgage, your small business loan. And then on the other side of the wall, never to meet, would be the investment bankers. If you want to make investments, if you want to play the market, great. You can get a higher interest rate if your bet pays off. But if you lose, you lose. No more money back guarantees. Someone has to have the courage to take on the billionaire set. They don't make our economy function. There is no such thing as trickle down, except for someone suffering from incontinence, which maybe is Jamie Dimon's problem. I'm not sure. But this is really a very foolhardy operation, especially when it seems that progress is being made in the Ukraine-Russia theater, where perhaps that war could finally be brought to an end. So no more reverence for the billionaires. Let's bankrupt Wall Street.
We go now to 2 reports on an international youth conference dialogue that was held this past Sunday, December 14th, organized by the Schiller Institute. We'll hear first from Daniel Burke from the United States, who was a key organizer of the event with a wonderful overview. And then we'll hear also from Alan Rivera from Mexico, who gave his report from a street deployment yesterday in Mexico City, where organizers took the ideas from the conference right out to the population.
Hi, I'm Daniel Burke with the Schiller Institute, and I'm happy to tell you about an incredible youth conference that the Schiller Institute hosted this past Sunday, December 14. It's a new strategic flank for humanity. We need a new, just security and development architecture. And we're not going to get it without a massive change in the way that people think. The change might just come from an incredible, growing assembly of young people from all across the world who are increasingly conceiving of the singular interests of the one mankind as the motivation for their action. On Sunday, 37 nations were represented by young people. They joined together in a two-panel online conference. Over 200 of them. We had meetings held in Uganda, in Nigeria, in the Netherlands, in Mexico, in many locations. In France, we had a wonderful meeting with 14 people gathered together to participate in this conference. In the first panel, we were honored to have Helga Zepp-LaRouche, Dr. Naledi Pandor, the former Minister of International Cooperations and Relations for the Republic of South Africa, and the present chairwoman of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Ambassador Beryl Sisulu, the ambassador of South Africa to Mexico, Jacques Cheminade, the president of Solidarité et Progrès, and Alan Charlemagne Pereira, the former ambassador as well as former chief of staff of the Senegalese Air Force from Senegal. These voices of reason, who have been through many decades of fight for universal justice, were in dialogue with these hundreds of young people from 37 nations. And what came across is that there is an absolute ripeness to marshal forces at this level and have young people take leadership to change the conditions, change the way that people think in each their respective nations, but that the effect of having all of them working together is the crucial driving force that can really shift history forward. In the second panel, we had, I think, overall about 16 or 17 videos submitted from people in all of these different locations, including remarkable contributions from Nigeria, from Yemen, from where we had the president of the Youth Development Association of Yemen contribute remarks, as well as a 15-year-old who has been working on the concept of Yemen's place in the BRICS dynamic since she was very young, for 10 years now, since she was just a child. And she celebrated in her remarks the crucial contribution of Ludwig van Beethoven, whose 255th birthday came up just yesterday, I believe. In addition, we had people from Mali, from Niger, from Democratic Republic of Congo, speaking. For example, our contribution from the Democratic Republic of Congo was on the terrible violence and injustice taking place in that location, but from the standpoint of the urgent need for youth to gather around the principles of truth and justice. This is really the very exciting and transformative element, is that people were looking not only at the problems that exist, the underdevelopment of the developing world, the crisis in the financial sector that is going to affecting everyone, and we'll do much more if we don't impose Glass-Steagall in every country. These problems were brought up, but solutions were brought forward, and solutions were brought forward to an assembly of people who were committed to the one mankind. So what I saw from that conference was deeply inspirational, very, very moving, and it means an incredible increase in the potential to win the broad strategic victory that we need. So I invite you to watch this in full, which we will publish at the Schiller Institute YouTube very soon, and to read our reports about it, and then to bring many more young people into this process. Thank you very much.
Hello, greetings. We are in Mexico on a busy main avenue. I want to tell you about the work we did for an international conference, the International Youth Dialogue, which took place last Sunday. It was a very important event. The South African ambassador to Mexico was there. She addressed the conference via video. It was a very inspiring and personal message because she shared her childhood experiences and told us how important human rights and world peace are to South Africa. Also participating in this conference were people from African and Afro-Mexican diaspora, as well as representatives from other organizations. It was an event with over 34 countries from around the world. There was a great deal of participation from young people, and the African presence was phenomenal, fantastic. There were many young leaders who had their own groups for women, youth, peace, and development, which is very important. And here we are, continuing our outreach in the streets. We have our Oasis Plan banner and our campaign in support of the BRICS. At this crucial moment for achieving peace through development in Palestine, and not only in Palestine. This was reflected in the international dialogue, which was very moving. Well, this is what I wanted to share with you, something that is alive and growing. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel and Alan. And as you heard from Daniel, if you stay tuned, check in every once in a while to the Schiller Institute YouTube page. The full event proceedings will be posted soon. Very exciting. Now, we have some photos from our organizers in France this past week. Our French movement was very active in the streets. You see some of these photographs. This is around a campaign of Rémy Lebrun, who's running with the Solidarité et Progrès party of Jacques Cheminade, which is the LaRouche party in France, and he's running to be a representative of the National Assembly. And you see some of these, the poster, the beautiful poster there, says, "To unite the true left and the true right and restore the Republic. A representative of the people, by the people, and for the people." And they were out. These photos are from two campaign rallies, one in Sanoy, France, and the other de la Barre, France. So 2 different days, meeting lots and lots of people, speaking to them personally, and conveying ideas, just as we saw a few moments ago in the video with Alan out in Mexico City, where they were speaking to people on the streets, bringing them these beautiful ideas. And you don't have to be accepted into the formal institutions to be brought beautiful ideas. We'll bring them out there. So we have one more item this evening, which is that on December 8th, a week ago, the Schiller Institute released a new statement issued by Schiller Institute founder Helga Zepp-LaRouche entitled, "Withdraw from NATO. New national security strategy requires new security architecture." And we'll read a couple highlights from the statement. It reads, "NATO is no longer an Atlantic defensive alliance, but considers itself as the military arm to defend the unipolar world order that has been pursued since the end of the Cold War. But that order has long since been replaced by the partnership between countries of the global South, which are no longer willing to submit to the imperial and colonial structures of the collective West, but are building a new world economic order with their BRICS and SCO organizations based on sovereignty and mutual and equal development. We must not oppose this new world order, which brings 500 years of colonialism to an end and allows the nations of the global majority to overcome poverty and underdevelopment for the first time. We must rather cooperate with these countries and thus open a new chapter in human history." And the letter, which goes through a very broad conception, concludes that we, the undersigned, endorse the Schiller Institute's call for governments to withdraw from NATO and initiate conferences for a new international security and development architecture in the tradition of the Peace of Westphalia. So you are encouraged to endorse this statement. We include a link to do so in the video description or go to the Schiller Institute website. Also, websites and journals are encouraged to republish this letter in full or in part, attributing the Schiller Institute. So please consider places that you may submit this letter to be posted. And then let us know that it's been posted. Or even let us know that you sent it in and that it wasn't posted or may be posted. Send your reports on this activity and all your other organizing activity over the coming week. Leading into next Wednesday evening is the Christmas Eve Wednesday evening, and take that into account. So do your organizing early and often, and send your reports in to info@laroucheorganization.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.